how I went from a person that's not being able to run for 5 minutes to be signed up for a Ironman. So in the last 5 years, 5.5 years actually, I've transitioned from a obese person that wasn't able to run for 10 minutes to a person that's now completed half an Ironman, and I'm currently signed up for a full Ironman. And this has had some profound effect on my life, and it's really crazy how much cardiovascular health has an impact on our overall health, and it's definitely something that I would recommend to anyone. And it's just mind-blowing how much my quality of life has changed. And sure, like losing weight and building muscle, that was incredible for me, but it wasn't until I started getting into endurance training that I really took it to the next level. So I'm a person that has always hated endurance training, mainly because I sucked at it. I was a obese person that was always struggling to run, and I'm sure most of you guys are aware it's extremely difficult to run when you're obese, and it's also terrible for our body because the impact each stride has on our body is getting compounded by our body weight. So when you're carrying extra weights, that's terrible for our knees. And it was mainly the fact that I hated this, and in the last 5.5 years I've been so focused on like making the hard things easy for me. So I've looked for small increments every single day, whether that's taking a cold shower, doing intermittent fasting, going to the gym, meditation, all of these things that are quite challenging to most of us, to be honest. It doesn't take a lot to do them, but few of us actually manage to stick to them and actually make them habits in the long run. And one way that I kind of leveraged myself, I guess, was that my brother and my father, they were doing the Swedish Classic circuit, which is a endurance event where you're completing 4 different challenges within 1 calendar year. So there's basically a swimming event, there's a cycling event, there's a cross-country skiing event, and then there's a running event. And when you add all of these up, it's about 24-hour total or something like that, depending on how fast you are. And when I heard that my brother and my father was talking about this, I realized that this was a great way to challenge myself, because that's what I like to do, and when I challenge myself, I know that I want to complete that challenge. So I'm basically putting myself into situations where I'm forced to grow, and this was an excellent opportunity because I knew how incredible cardiovascular health is for us and how much of a difference it has to our life. And I was down to a healthy weight now, so I thought this was the perfect timing. So I decided to start training with them, and the first thing that I realized is that our perception is literally everything. So what I thought was a long training session was basically 1 hour, but after I started training with my dad and brother for this event, I realized that most of our training sessions were around 2 hours, and when we did that week after week, that became the new norm. So just a couple of months prior, my expectations of a long training session was 1 hour, and now 2 hours is just a normal training session for me. So it's just crazy how much perception influences our thoughts, and it's really crazy when how much our surroundings has an impact on that. But anyways, this was kind of the catalyst for my cardiovascular transformation. So when we actually completed the Swedish Classic circuit, I was kind of hooked, and I've now began to enjoy endurance training. So in just 1 year, I transformed it from being a person that absolutely dreads going out for a run to a person that actually enjoys running. So when we completed that, I started looking into how I could take it to the next level, and the next step for me was a given, because my dad was I think he had already completed Jönköping Ironman 70.3, which is basically a half Ironman. So I decided to sign up for that with him and start training for that. So again, I had to expose myself to new challenges. So for example, in an Ironman, you have to be able to know how to crawl, and I had no idea how to crawl. I could only breaststroke, so I had to hire a swimming coach. I had to go through weeks of challenges. I was struggling in the beginning. I couldn't crawl for like 10 meters, and as I started hiring a coach, after a while I got up to being able to crawl for 50 meters, and then the week after I was up to 100 meters, 200 meters, and just a couple of weeks later I could swim 2,000 meters without stopping, which is just above the requirement that you have to swim in the half Ironman. I think it's 9.3 kilometers, something like that. Not necessarily that important, but this was just another way that I had to challenge myself. And sadly, Jönköping Ironman never happened, but an amazing person called Frederick replaced the race. So he created Bauer Triathlon, which is basically the same distances as Jönköping Ironman, and he did the event, so it was basically Corona friendly. So I completed that this summer, and I managed to beat my. My dad had the goal of completing the event under 6 hours, so I put that for me as well, and actually managed to come in on 5 minutes and 50 seconds. So that was that was just so much fun for me. Not mainly because I managed to get under that time, that made me feel happy, of course, but just the experience of it. So it was something else, and during the Swedish Classic circuit, the longest event for us was the bicycling. I can't recall exactly how long it was, but it was well over 8 hours, and this was obviously shorter because we were finished after less than 6 hours, but there was something with this event that really spoke to me. I'm not sure if it's the part that you're doing the swim, then you're doing the bicycling, and then you're doing the running, but I don't know, I just felt connected to myself on a whole new level that I hadn't experienced before. So I was really hooked on this, and after that event, I basically said to some of the people that were cheering us on that I was going to complete a full Ironman, and then they told that to our father, and then he kind of like tagged along with me. So we were planning to do the full Ironman in Kalmar, Sweden, but sadly that was booked already, so now we're signed up for Copenhagen. So I'm extremely excited for that, and every single morning now, or not, I shouldn't say every single morning, because that's not true, but mostly every single morning lately I've been going for a run, and it's not a hard run or anything, it's just like I want to get into the habit of doing this more or less every single day, and it's a pretty light run because I'm running in zone 2, so there's basically different heart rate zones, where zone 1 is the easiest, zone 2 is slightly higher, then zone 3 is in the middle, 4 is slightly harder, and 5 is like your absolute maximum. And what I'm doing right now is I'm doing zone 2 runs, and these are very powerful because when we're in the heart rate zone, that is zone 2, we're utilizing fats instead of carbohydrates for fuel. And this is perfect when we're doing long endurance events, because when we're doing this, when we're exerting ourselves, our body prefers to rely on carbohydrates, but our carbohydrate stores are very limited, and obviously we can fill those up during the races, but there's going to be times where we're not having any carbohydrates in our body, and then it's great to be able to have an effective system. So what I'm basically doing on these light zone 2 runs is that I'm getting a nice start to the day, I'm feeling amazing afterwards, and I'm also building up my zone 2 fat burning system while I'm getting some great cardio in. And this is also great for overall cardiovascular health, because you're not really putting a huge strain to yourself. So this is why I'm able to do this pretty much every single day. So that is also quite important that it's not that taxing, you know, because I'm also training in the gym 3 times per week, and then I got my bicycle training, I got my swimming, so sadly I'm not currently able to swim because of the whole pandemic situation, but yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get some more swimming in the summer. So that is my story from transitioning to a person that wasn't able to run from 10 minutes to now preparing to compete in an Ironman. And hope you guys enjoy this, and hopefully I'll be able to inspire some of you guys to start taking care of your cardiovascular health, because it has definitely been life-changing for me. Take care.